What's up YouTube, Dad here from Zephyr Wargames, bringing you a different kind of video. So with the end of the year coming up, and the meta constantly changing, I'm bringing you a video of a future meta deck. So as you can see before you, we have the DDD deck. Now with the release of the structure deck in January, this deck can, in my own words, produce a pretty dirty first turn board. So, now, all the cards around the outside are cards we already have. The two cards in the middle are proxies from the upcoming structure deck, which turn this deck to what could possibly be a future meta deck. So this is the future meta deck breakdown. I'll also be doing these for Junishishis, or Zodiacs as they're now commonly known, and we'll also talk about more future meta decks. So if you would like to see any meta decks that the OCG are playing in a kind of breakdown so you know what they do, how to beat them, and where you get the cards if you want to play them, just so you can try and pick them up on the cheap side before they get expensive. So, without further ado, we'll crack straight into the deck and we'll kind of go through what they do and then what the new cards bring to the deck. So at the moment, without Lamia and Siegfried, which are only proxies, just so you know, they have a pretty impressive board. Like they burn themselves out quite a lot. However, they have a searcher in the deck to search out their dark contracts. Now their dark contracts produce them with the abilities to search, fusion summon from grave, field and hand, discard one to banish one, and then they have their own royal decree for the turn. Now obviously they do have other contracts, but these are probably the main contracts used. Less so Dark Contract with Errors, but if people start siding in Royal Decrees and stuff like that against some vanities, then don't be surprised if DD start playing this. Now obviously the downside of the contracts is they burn for 1,000 life points every standby phase. However, cards like Oracle King Diarch and Leonidas, which you might not play as much in the upcoming version, because your contracts don't stay on the board. So the support they get, don't keep the contracts on the board. So, Oracle King Diarch makes any damage taken, any effect damage taken, you gain it instead. Anyway, back to the main deck. So, the main deck has its searchers, it has its contracts, and then it has these two little buggers. DD Swell Slime and DD Necro Slime. Now these cards, if you can get these in hand first turn, you can end up with two fusions on board. You can end up with an Oracle King Diarch and a DDD Flame King Genghis at minimum. And this is if you simply use their main effects. So, Swell Slime. You discard this card and another DD card from your hand to the graveyard to special summon a DDD fusion. DDD Necro Slime. You banish this card from your graveyard and another DD monster to special summon another fusion DDD. So literally, you won't want to do this as much, but you'd go, if you open up this, you'd send Swell Slime and maybe Necro Slime to the grave. You get one fusion monster out. Now, if you choose to go for Genghis can then revive one of the cards in the graveyard. But obviously, if these are the only two in your graveyard, you're just banishing these anyway to get another Diarch. Swell Slime also has a second ability in the graveyard. So you banish this from the graveyard, you can special summon a DDD card from hand. So, the best way this really works is you start up with, let's say you have this kind of hand. You can send DDD Swell Slime and Necro Slime to the graveyard to bring out, let's say, Flame King Genghis. You then banish Swell Slime to special summon Abyss Ragnarok. Genghis' effect goes off. There's also an Abyss Ragnarok effect that can go off as well. So there's plenty that you can put on board, and they're all relatively high beat sticks, like 22 and a 3k defense. So they can produce quite big, strong boards. Now this is just what they have at the moment. So they also have in their arsenal at the moment DD Savant Thomas, which came out in the Dark Illusion. This lets you pop a scale and then special summon a scale. So it also then kicks off Flame King Genghis plus Alexander, who is the synchro that we've got. But foolishly enough, we never got the tuner. We don't get that until the structure deck, which we'll get onto in a minute, because that, again, takes it to a whole new level. The other option they have is DD Baphomet. Now this card allows you to reduce a level of a DD monster to 4, and it then lets you get into DDD Wave King Caesar, who is basically your revival. So during either player's turn, you detach a material from this card. At the end of the battle phase, special summon from the graveyard as many monsters destroyed this turn as possible. But during the next standby phase, take 1,000 damage for each monster special summoned by this effect. Now, obviously, if you have Oracle King Arc on the field, you gain that instead. So that's kind of how they're built at the moment. Their other extra deck cards are DDD Dueling King Yugioh. He's basically a heavy storm. He blows up all spells and traps on the field. And you can also detach one. So basically, after this card is executed summoned, the rest of the turn, other cards and their effects cannot be activated on the field. And other cards' effects on the field are negated, including the DD monsters themselves. Once per turn, during either player's turn, you detach one material from this card, destroy all spells and trap cards on the field. You can also detach a material from this card, target one dark contract spell or trap card in your graveyard and set that target. So you basically blow up your field, and then you get to set these again. So if you haven't activated stuff like Contract with a Gate and Swamp King this turn, you can then activate them again and you're just boosting up your field. Your other big beastie at the moment, which will be dropping down to about 1 with the new support coming out, is DDD Wave Oblivion King Caesar Ragnarok. This card is basically a non-targeting absolute monster of beat sticks. So once per turn, when an attack is declared involving this card, you can target one other DD or Dark Contract card you control, return it to the hand. And if you do, equip one face-up monster your opponent controls to this card, except the battling monster. This card gains attack equal to the combined original attack of the monsters equipped to it by this effect. So it can constantly keep equipping, as long as you can keep bouncing. So, to summarise, DDD have an extra deck Reviver, they have an extra deck Life Point Gainer, they have an extra deck non-targeting Insane Beat Stick, they have an extra deck Heavy Storm, and they have an extra deck Special Summon from Grave. And that's at the very least. Obviously, DDD Flame King Genghis also has the ability, if this card in your opponent's in its owner's possession is destroyed by an opponent's card effect, you can target one Dark Contract card in your graveyard and add it to your hand. So we'll let you recycle those. Alexander also has a level 4 effect. It's a Synchro, level 7. When it's special summoned, again it lets you special summon a level 4 or lower DD monster. So this is what they have at this moment in time, and not forgetting the Swirl Slimes. This lot at the moment, your Swirl Slimes, apparently from what I know, aren't in the new structure decks coming out, but that might change for the TCG. So these are relatively cheap. You get them for about probably 10p. Maybe if you've got a really good friend, they'll give them to you for free. The contract cards and the Savant Ketters, again, are really, really cheap. So about 10p, so get them while you can. I'm pretty sure some of these get reprinted in the structure deck, so you don't even need to worry that much about it. Now, these are the harder ones to get, the rares. So your Baphomet, your Savant Thomas, and your Oblivion King Abyss Ragnarok. Now, again, I'm not 100% sure if the TCG is going to get them reprinted or not, but just to have them in a rare rarity, or just to know that you've got them. I think Ragnarok is a little bit more expensive because it didn't get a tin reprint. Savant Thomas and Baphomet, you're probably looking at about £1 each, maybe less, 50p. Abyss Ragnarok is a couple more quid. Now we get on to the extra deck stuff. Flame King Genghis came in the tin. So if you buy a tin, you could get quite a few reprints, plus this, really, really cheap. Kali Yuga is being reprinted in the Star Packs next year. So again, he is really, really cheap, so you can pick him up quite easily. Wave King Ragnarok, again, not that expensive, couple of quid. Caesar, again, really cheap because he got reprinted. And DD Oracle King Diarch is probably about £1 to £2. So straight away, you pick up a couple of these. You're not going to really want more than one of these extra deck monsters, especially with the ability of Synchros coming out for this deck, which when we get to them to the new cards, we'll explain more. These cards, you definitely want him at 3. You want Savant Thomas at 2 to 3. Baphomet, you can probably play at 1. It really depends on how fast you want to get into rank 4s and how fussed you are about those. Witch, you can probably play at 1 because you search it. Contract with the Swamp King 2. Gate 3. Savant 3. Swirl 3. Necroslime, some people play it at 2. I would advise at 3 because with Lamia, it just has so many more effects and ways to get it into the graveyard. So, now on to the new cards. Now these aren't only paper proxies. So there are obviously more new cards. There's a bigger Beat Stick Pendulum Monster, and there are other reprints in the deck. But these are the two main ones that you want to be keeping an eye out for, that you want to be getting, and the reasons you'll want to get the structure deck. Now, Lamia with a small DD engine can be played in any deck to give them ability of a 1-star synchro monster, 1-star tuner. So, Lamia. If this card in your hand or graveyard, if this card is in your hand or your graveyard, you can send one DD or Dark Contract card from your hand or face up from your side of the field to the graveyard, except Lamia. Special summon this card, but banish it when it leaves the field. You can only use this effect of DD Lamina once per turn. So you can normal summon Lamia, synchro into. Oh, take the camera out. Synchro into something. So if you have a Genghis on board, you can synchro into Alexander, and then by bringing back Lamia, you then have the access to a level 8 synchro, and Alexander's effect will go off as well when you bring back Lamia to special summon a level 4 or lower. So that's how you get Baphomet back out or any of the other stuff. Obviously, Oracle King the Art works exactly the same way. You get her out, you then bring back Lamina, you go straight into a level 7. Now, the nice thing about Alexander, when you do the Genghis, the Lamina into Alexander effect, you can then use Alexander's effect to bring back the Lamina, I believe. I need to double check the Alexander. But you bring back, even if the way you get Lamina on board, as long as you get her on board, it then gives you access to Crystal Ring. So if that's not bad enough, that the deck has access to Crystal Ring as well, its first, let me get Alexander out for you guys. Its first main effect on the board is pretty disgusting in itself. Like, we all know what Crystal Wing does, and we all know why it's 40 quid. So that's probably one of your harder ones to get hold of that you might need to wait for. But Cursed King Siegfried is also a spell negator. So let me just double check. I've got Alexander here, so we'll just double check him now. So if another DD monster is normal or special summoned to the field while you control this face-up card, except during the damage state, you can target one level 4 or lower DD monster in your graveyard, special summon it. You can only use the effect once per turn. So yeah, you would, let's say you've got Genghis on field and you've sent Swell Slime and Baphomet to the graveyard, yeah? You normal summon Lamia. Lamia then synchros into Alexander. You then send some DD or anything from your hand or field, bring back Lamina. Now Alexander's effect goes off to bring back Baphomet, and then you can synchro straight into a Crystal Wing or a Siegfried. You then still have the ability to keep going depending on what's in your hand. But that's a minimal play. This deck can line up with Siegfried on board first turn, along with a Crystal Wing and another DDD monster. I mean, that's just how crazy this deck can go off. Anyway, so Siegfried. During either player's turn, you can target one face-up spell or track card on the field and negate its effects until the next standby phase. You can only use this effect of DD Curse Siegfried once per turn. When this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, gain 1,000 life points for each Dark Contract card you control. So not only can Siegfried negate your own contract so you don't burn if you don't have Oracle King the Ark on the field, it also allows you to negate your opponent's spells and traps. So put that on top of, let's say someone Regekis you to try and get rid of your Crystal Wing. Your Crystal Wing, you can protect your Crystal Ring with Siegfried, and it's not that hard to get them out first turn. So your board could look like that. Even better, it could even look like that, depending on the opening hand you get. So the deck is really, that's just a different level that these two cards bring to the deck, especially Lamia. Now that's the one that I'm going to say for you guys to keep an eye out for, because if you don't buy the structure deck, it's going to be quite hard to get hold of her, because all DD people, all people that are buying the structure decks are going to want to keep hold of her because she is quite versatile. You can put her in other decks. Like, we all know how Frankenstein Joe is at the moment. He's even found a way of putting a small DD engine into Dark Magicians, just so Dark Magicians have access to level 8 synchros. Now, obviously, the other cards that come in the structure deck, from what we know of, is Beat Sticks, more Pendulum cards, and then quite a lot of reprints. But the main cards you're going to want, like I said before, are these two. These two are going to be next level stuff for this deck, and this is what can take it meta. The ability that they can go first and end on a board with a 28 beta that lets you gain life points when it's destroyed if you have Dark Contracts, plus Crystal Wing, plus a spell trap negation, plus whatever else you have. Now, I highly recommend playing. Joe in his deck plays the Banish pot, the pot that brings 3 Banish back to deck, draw 1 card. Completely fine. Obviously, they're all Dark monsters, so you can do a lore. But I quite advise bringing Burial from a different dimension. I mean, that card, if you open up with that card, you can make some horrendous plays, because you can bring your Laminar back. You can bring your Laminar back into your grave ready for next turn. You can also bring back your Swell Slime, so you can banish them again to bring cards out and just go mental. So yeah, there's definitely ways of doing it. I mean, I'm trying to remember the play that Joe had shown to me, because I feel Laminar, if you use your effects of, let's say, Swell Slime. So if we have Swell Slime and Laminar in hand, if you send Swell Slime and, let's say, Necro Slime to grave, you go into Genghis. Then if we banish Swell Slime to bring back Lamia, you could then bring back Necro Slime if you wanted to and sink into the race card. I can't remember what it's actually, Formula Synchron, there we go, to draw a card. You then have the ability to bring back Laminar again to go into Alexander. So your board now looks like that. You then also have Necro Slime in the graveyard, so you banish Necro Slime and Genghis to bring out Oracle King Diarch if you want. There's also the new fusion, which is a DD and a DDD monster. So that will again bring you more. I think it does piercing damage. So that gives you more. So you've then ended up by banishing Genghis, Slime, Lamia, Swirl. You now have that board on field. And you haven't used... No, sorry, because we haven't used Laminar's effect, have we? No, so we haven't used Laminar's effect. So you can then bring Laminar back, and then you can sink either there or there, and have a Siegfried or a Crystal Wing on board. So you can have one of those two on boards, and that's, again, for a first turn board, that is pretty disgusting. That is a very, very good board. So that's just kind of what the DDDs can do. So like I said before, apart from Crystal Wing, let's ignore Crystal Wing because it is quite expensive at the moment. If you pick up some of the cheaper cards right now, so some of the main cards that we already have, from what I know, the swells aren't, like I said before, the swells aren't being reprinted. Now, Alexander you get in the tin as well, so they're quite cheap to pick up, and so is the rest of the stuff. So, if you were to pick these up quite cheaply now, probably cost you to get a whole entire core. I mean, the hype's still there, but if you could get a whole entire core for about £10–15, and that's going overboard. That's quite a extensive reach, shall we say, for the deck at this moment in time. But yeah, if you were to pick them up, all you would then need to do is pick up 3 structure decks, which are, like, your maximum, you're looking at about £10 each. You can probably pick them up at the right store for about £8 each. And you now have, it's like ABCs, and it's like Monarchs, you now have a structure deck that can produce meta plays, that can compete quite highly. I mean, they do quite well as they are at the moment, and this is without their main 2 cards. They're going to continue to get more support thanks to the anime and stuff like that. And like I said before, they have such a range. It's not as if they're just one extra deck card. They can do Fusion, Synchro, and XYZ, so they're going to be able to beat... Like, they can get around stuff like Barrier. So it gives them more options and more alternatives. I hope this was informative. I hope it makes sense to you guys out there. I hope it makes you either know how to... We'll go through an extra deck in a minute. We'll go through a side deck of how to beat DDDs. But I hope you kind of have the idea of what this deck can do, and that it is worth picking up. Whether you want to pick up one just to see what the cards can do so you can kind of get a way around it in the future, or whether you want to pick the deck up and start playing it yourself, now's the time to start. So, that is the DDD future meta breakdown, so you kind of know what they have, what they can do, and their main cards to watch out for. Now let's go into a side deck against these DDDs. What cards will stop DDDs most often? Now, Maxi. I've put Maxi in there because they do Synchro, they do Special Summon a hell of a lot on their first turn. So Maxi will help you get quite a lot of draws off them. Chaos Hunter, because stuff like DD Crow really helps you. So you can drop DD Crow on them to banish their Swell Slimes before they get the chance to activate it. The good thing is you can play Chaos Hunter, on top of, it allows you to still banish. So it allows you to play Chaos Hunter and DDD Crow, which I haven't got here, but I definitely recommend it. Obviously the generic Dimensional Barrier, standard on that one. Book of Eclipse, so you want to eclipse them before they get into their Alexanders or anything like that. Winter Cherries to take out their main extra deck threats, which will be Crystal Wings and Siegfrieds. So they're kind of like the main ones. So those with DD Crows are the main ones. Also Imperial Iron Wall. But then if you're playing Imperial Iron Wall, you don't really, like, you can play Chaos Hunter, but if you're playing Imperial Iron Wall, you don't really want to be playing DD Crow. And like I said before, they have the ability to search a Royal Decree, so they can lock out your Imperial Iron Wall. Whereas stuff like Chaos Hunter is still very, very handy, and so is some of the other cards that the deck has at its the extra deck has at its disposal at the moment in time to get around them. Obviously, their main feature is banishing and special summoning. So to lock out their special summon with a Vanities or a Vanities Fiend or a Christia is the best way to stop them, and then stopping their banishing or banish their stuff for them before they get the chance. So, again, I hope this helped. I hope it makes you want to look into the deck a bit more. Test it out online, just so you get to know the ins and outs of it if you want to be playing it. And just getting around what could possibly be a highly played, highly competitive future meta deck come January the 19th. I mean, there's a regional on the 22nd in Stevenage, and I kind of bet it now that a good proportion of those players are going to be running DDD decks. So, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. Give us a big thumbs up on this video, guys. If I have missed anything, please let me know in the comments below. I will, if you like this video and you find it helpful, I will continue to try and improve on these and to do more for you. I can do current meta stuff like Metaphors, so you know how to get around those and what their main cards are. I can also do it for Junishishis or the Zodiacs as an upcoming one. And I can kind of break down the meta for you guys if that's what you would like. So again, give us a big thumbs up on the video if this was helpful for you guys. Even if it wasn't that helpful, just give us a big thumbs up for your support. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, share. And as always, guys, happy dueling. If you like that video, why not check out our other videos available? We've got more deck profiles, pack openings, and of course duels. And don't forget to click on the most important button of all, that subscribe button, right in the bottom left hand corner.